Taji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naran Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayat Bhagavate Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमो पङ्कजनाभाय नमो पङ्कजमालिने नमो पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्घ्रि Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, verses 11 to 20. Prahalad Maharaj, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. Text 11. Prahalad Maharaj replied, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose external energy has created the distinctions of my friends and my enemies. By deluding the intelligence of man, indeed, I am now actually experiencing this, although I have previously heard of it from authoritative sources." Text 12. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with a living entity because of his devotional service, one becomes a Pandit and does not make distinctions between enemies and friends and himself. Intelligently, he then thinks every one of us is an eternal servant of God, and therefore we are not different from one another. Text 13. Persons who always think in terms of enemies and friends are unable to ascertain the supreme soul within themselves. Not to speak of them, even such exalted persons of Lord Brahma who are fully conversant with the Vedic literature are sometimes bewildered in following the principles of devotion service. The same Supreme Personality of Godhead who has created this situation has certainly given me the intelligence to take the side of your so-called enemy. Text 14. O Brahmanas, teachers, as iron attracted by the magnetic stone moves automatically towards the magnet, my consciousness, having been changed by his will, is attracted by Lord Vishnu, who carries a disc in his hand. Thus, I have no independence. Text 15. The great saint Narada Muni continued. The great soul Prahalad Maharaja became silent after saying this to his teachers, Sanda and Amarka, the seminal sons of Sukracharya. These so-called Brahmanas then became angry at him because they were servants of Hiranyakashipu. They were very sorry, and to chastise Prahalad Maharaj, they spoke as follows. Text 16. Oh, please bring me a stick. This Prahalad is damaging our name and fame. Because of his bad intelligence, he had become like a cinder of the dynasty of the demons. Now he needs to be treated by fourth of our four kinds political diplomacy. Text 17. This rascal Prahalad has appeared like a thorn tree in the forest of sandalwood. To cut down sandalwood trees, the axe is needed, and the wood of the thorn tree is very suitable for the handle of such an axe. Lord Vishnu is the axe for cutting down the sandalwood forest of the family of demons, and this Prahalad is the handle of that axe. Text 18. Sanda and Amarka, the teachers of Prahalad Maharaja, chastised and threatened their disciple in various ways to begin teaching him about path of religion, economic development, and sense gratification. This is the way they educated him. Text 19. After some time, the teachers Sanda and Amarka thought that Prahalad Maharaj was sufficiently educated in the diplomatic affairs of pacifying public leaders, appeasing them by giving them lucrative posts, dividing and rule over them, and punishing them in cases of disobedience. Then, one day after Prahlad's mother had personally washed the boy and dressed him nicely with sufficient ornament, they presented him before his father. Text 20. When Hiranyakashipu saw that his son had fallen on his feet and was observing and was offering obeisances as an affectionated father, he immediately began showering blessings upon the child and embraced him with both arms. A father naturally feels happy to embrace his son, and Hiranyakashipu became very happy in this way. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Achyuta Gopmati, whenever you're ready, you can start, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I'm not able to share my screen again. I'm sorry. Can somebody share, please?
Oh, okay, sure, Mataji. Let me.
Sorry, Prabhu.
Yeah, sure, man.
Well, let's start with prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshunviltamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Thank you, Sundaran Prabhu, for the opportunity. Hare Krishna, all devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. We'll start with verse 11 today. I know we covered this verse on Friday, but there was some confusion in terms of the communication, in terms of the verses that I was given and what we covered. So I apologize for that. So what we're doing, just to give a background, is basically Prahlad Maharaj is studying in the Gurukul, and just as a father normally asks the child, tell me, what have you learned in school. So similarly, Hiranyakashipu is asking Prahlad Maharaj, what have you learned in school. So now Prahlad Maharaj is responding to that question, and so text 11 to 14, the next four verses that we'll be covering today, Prahlad Maharaj is speaking, and in the first verse, which is verse 11, so basically the way that he's starting is, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose external energy has created the distinctions of my friend and my enemy by deluding the intelligence of men. Indeed, I am now actually experiencing this, although I have previously heard it from authoritative sources." So Prahlad Maharaj, he's starting with offering obeisances unto Lord Krishna, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, basically he mentions that he somebody there, his father might say, or his teachers might say that, who are you, you're only a 5-year-old boy, like who are you to say this. So he's basically saying that he's basically saying that I've heard it from authoritative sources. So he's not saying that I have said, I'm seeing this, or this is what I feel. He's directly passing it on to the authoritative sources, after offering obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is how we should be preaching. We should not be preaching from our own minds and whims and our own understanding, but we should always back it up with our acharyas, our authoritative scriptures, what we have heard. So this is a very important point that Prahlad Maharaj brings in his response. And Prabhupada mentions also Sakshat Dharitvena Samasta Shastras, Uktasatha Bhav Yataiva Sadbhi. So we pray in the morning, right, to the spiritual master. So spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord, because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord. So we should always hear from authoritative sources like spiritual master and a line of disciplic succession before when we are preaching. Then this point of duality, a friend and enemy. So, in this material world, we always consider somebody as friend, somebody as enemy. So, one second, let me just quit my WhatsApp here. Yeah. So we always think of this duality. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying that nobody is our friend, nobody is our enemy. We are all servants. Everybody has Krishna in their heart. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated in each and everybody's heart. So nobody is a friend and enemy, and so we should not look at people in that way. Then in verse 12. Prahlad Maharaj says, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with the living entity because of his devotional service, one becomes a Pandit and does not make distinctions between enemies, friends, and himself. Intelligently, he then thinks every one of us is an eternal servant of God. So this 12th verse would be the verse to read for today. It is Prabhupada has written like over 2 pages of purport here. Any purport that is more than half of any purport that Prabhupada has written, which is more than half of the page in Bhagavatam, is an important purport. And here Prabhupada has written like almost over 2 pages of purport. So when these when the Prahlad's father Hiranyakashipu and the teachers, they were asking who has it seems like this question is answering the question that the teachers might be having, or Hiranyakashipu might be having, that who has taught you this, right? I mean, where have you learned this? We haven't taught you this. That nobody is a friend, nobody is an enemy. Nobody has taught you this. So where have you learned this from? So it seems like in response to that, Prahlad Maharaj is saying that every one of us is an eternal servant of. I'm sorry. When Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased because of his devotional service, one becomes a pandit and does not make distinctions. So basically, that kind of uh, um, when we are in that position of equanimity of we don't consider anybody as friend or enemy, that position comes only by the mercy of the Lord. So only when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased, that is when we are able to not make that distinction. And intelligently, we think that everybody is a servant of the Lord, and and therefore nobody is different from one another, essentially. I remember Prabhupada said, if we know who if we know the spiritual identity of the person in the spiritual world, like if we know somebody is spiritual, like we will faint. If we know some, we just casually treat one another in a certain way, but if we know their real position in the spiritual world, we will actually faint. So we don't really know who somebody is in the past, in their original form in the spiritual world. So it is very important to and proper and to treat everybody equally. Prahlad Maharaj says that it is not my this thing. It is not because of my own intelligence. It is because of the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And and then Prabhupada brings a very important point in terms of service in the purport here. Prabhupada says that everyone should be friendly when they are when devotees, especially in our community, when we are serving, everybody is serving and trying to praise the Supreme Lord. So we should all praise each other's services, and we should not come in the way. And that is Vaikuntha thinking. that praising and not being proud of one's own service. So one person might be able to have the ability and resources to do more services, but that does not mean that they become proud of doing that service. But rather we should praise one another, and this is Vaikuntha competition. That's what Prabhupada says, that where the other service of another servant is appreciated and not condemned, and there is no question of enmity between servants. So everyone should be allowed to serve, and serve the Supreme Lord to the best of their ability, and everyone should appreciate each other's service. So and then this understanding that like how, so then we'll get the mercy of the Lord. Then even Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love and devotion, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So Krishna, who's sitting in our hearts, he will direct us, and he will basically cleanse that duality in our heart. And then Prahlad Maharaj continues in verse 13. Prahlad Maharaj says, what happens is, now when persons who always think in terms of enemy and friend. Now Prahlad Maharaj in the first two verses, he mentioned, how that consciousness comes. But in case if that is not there, and if we are always thinking in terms of friend and enemy, we are unable to ascertain the super soul within ourselves. Um, even uh, even exalted persons as Brahma, who are fully conversant with Vedic literature, are sometimes bewildered in following the principles of devotional service. The same Supreme Personality of Godhead who has created this situation has certainly given me the intelligence to take the side of your so-called enemy. So Prahlad Maharaj is directly saying, um, that Supreme Lord who you consider, who basically Hiranyakashipu you consider as the enemy, he's the one who is directing me in the heart, and at the same time, he has given me the intelligence to be on his side. So there is so this is what he is favoring me with. This is what he is doing. So basically he's saying that you think that I am on your enemy side, but actually he has bestowed a great favor upon me. And then in the fourth verse, I mean 14th verse, and this is the last verse that Prahlad Maharaj speaks. He says, "O Brahmanas," that means Skanda and Amarka, who are his teachers, as iron attracted by magnetic stone moves automatically towards the magnet, my consciousness, having been changed by his will, is attracted by Lord Vishnu, who carries a disc in his hand, and thus I have no independence. So he's calling Skanda and Amarka as Brahmins. In text 14, he's calling, "O Brahmanas, O teachers." So Brahmanas are actually Brahmanas are actually not seminal by seminal birth. Brahmanas are actually by Brahma, the sons of Shukra. So these these so-called Brahmins, Skanda and Amarka, these are seminal sons of Shukracharya, and but they don't possess any Brahminical qualifications. So actually, Brahmanas are by not by birth. They are by our behavior, by our qualifications. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying that just as an iron, this is the magnetic attraction. There's nothing that you can do about it. That's what he's telling Hiranyakashipu, that this is or he's telling his teachers that this is a magnetic attraction. I cannot do anything. It is by his will that I am attracted to Lord Vishnu, and I have no independence in this. So it is just a natural flow of attraction. So just like Prabhupada mentions, Prabhupada says that similarly, same thing in Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, everybody is attracted to Krishna. Even the trees, the creepers, everything that is even slightly we might feel that they are like inanimate objects, but actually even the dust of Vrindavan, everything is attracted to Krishna. Everything is Krishnized. So same thing. So similarly, even I am attracted to naturally attracted to Krishna. And then who is naturally attracted to Krishna? So when there's this verse called Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uttamam. So in this verse, Sarvo, it says Sarvopadi Upadi means designations. So when we are cleansed of all upadhis, upadhis of whether you're man, woman, son, daughter, wife, this, that, everything. When we are cleansed of all these upadhis in this material world, then we will be attracted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then our senses will be cleansed. So sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam. So in that state, when we are cleansed of all our designations. So rishikena means senses. Rishikena rishikesha. Rishikesha is Krishna. Rishikena, then ours we'll be able to serve the Supreme Lord with our cleansed, purified senses. And then Prabhupada quotes actually verse in Bhagavad Gita 7:28. Yesham tvayantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanda moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavrata. So persons who have acted piously in previous life and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. So one must be freed from all sinful dirt. So this is what Prabhupada says, that we should be, then that attraction, that flow will be natural for us. And then Narad Muni, Narad Muni is mentioning that then what happened is, so then Prahlad Maharaj, after he spoke these 4 verses, 11 to 14, then the great soul Prahlad Maharaj became silent after saying this to his teachers, Kanda and Amarka, the seminal sons of Shukracharya. These so-called Brahmanas then became angry at him because they were servants of Hiranyakashipu. They were very sorry and to chastise Prahlad Maharaj, they spoke as follows. So, normally what happens when we talk sense to or basically talk about Krishna, or talk about philosophy to people who have demoniac tendencies, is they become angry. So that is their natural state. So Narad Muni is saying that these the seminal sons of Shukracharya. That means that Shukracharya was a Brahmin, but his sons were not Brahmins. These so-called Brahmanas became angry at him. Actually, Brahman should not be a servant of anybody. A Brahmin is actually prohibited to become anybody else's servant. They should not serve anybody other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is what a real Brahmin is. Brahman does not have to satisfy anybody. He's simply meant to serve Krishna. He's simply meant to satisfy Krishna. That is a real qualification. But because these were just seminal Brahmins, they became angry. Then in text 16, actually, they were saying that please bring, this Kanda and Amarka, they were saying, oh, please bring me a stick. This Prahlad is damaging our name and fame. Because of his bad intelligence, he has become a cinder of dynasty in the dynasty of the demons. Now he needs to be treated by the 4th of the 4 kinds of political diplomacy. So there are, if there is somebody who doesn't, if there is if there is a king and the citizens, right? So if there is somebody who is creating havoc in the world or in the kingdom, the king, what they do is they do one of these 4 things. So they start with pacification. They start with legal orders. Then they try to pacify the person or the group. Then they try to offer some position to them, and then they offer weapons. So this is the order in which normally a king tries to pacify the situation. So So this is what Skanda Namarka is trying to do to Prahlad Maharaj, that they're not trying to they don't try to pacify with him with his with their sweet words or anything. Directly gone to the fourth step. So they've got they've surpassed the stages of pacification or offering sweet words to pacify the person, or pacify Prahlad Maharaj, or to offer them a post, or they've directly picked up weapons. So basically that is what they want to do, that they just want to beat Prahlad Maharaj. And it seems like during the time of this, when Prabhupada was writing this purport, it seems that there were some issues with the government, because in the purport, Prabhupada says about mentions about members of Krishna consciousness, American boys and girls, they're being charged with the members of the CIA. So it seems like it was around that time. So that is what it's a very relevant purport. It's a very relevant that's what the four stages are very relevant in this particular at the time, also at what was there at the time, what was going on. Then in text 17, Prabhupada says, the Skanda Namarkar saying, this rascal Prahlad has appeared like a thorn tree in a forest of sandalwood. To cut down sandalwood trees, an axe is needed, and the wood of the thorn tree is very suitable for the handle of such an axe. Lord Vishnu is the axe for cutting down the sandalwood forest of the family of demons, and this Prahlad is the handle of this axe. So we think of it we talk about association of devotees, and this is like a it's a very purifying environment. It's like a sandalwood forest for us, association of devotees and everything. But the demons think the other way. Skanda Namarka think that the Hiranyakashipu's kingdom is like and his family is like a sandalwood forest, and basically Prahlad Maharaj is like an axe, and he's trying to cut down uh, the members of Hiranyakashipu and the demonic civilization. So that is what they are mentioning there. Then in verse 18, Skanda and Amarka, the teachers of Prahlad Maharaj, chastised and threatened their disciple in various ways, and began teaching him about the paths of religion, economic development, and sense gratification. This is the way they educated him. So, the way to be away from, so basically, like, when you're in goodness, typically people don't really, uh, we don't see a lot of people in the mode who are very, very, very sattvic, or very much in the mode of goodness. They don't really, at least, they don't really come to Krishna consciousness very easily, because they think that whatever they're doing is like very, very nice, and this is the goal of life, just to be nice, be nice to everybody, and live that way. We've seen that in the previous generations, parents, grandparents, they don't really understand that why everything um, should be in Krishna consciousness. So they are happy with dharma, artha, kama, and that is what will lead to moksha, is what they strongly believe in. So this is what Skanda and Amarka are teaching Prahlad Maharaj, that the path of religion, then dharma, are to get some artha, and then basically you satisfy your senses, kama, and then you get moksha. So that is what they are trying to teach him. And after they taught him, Skanda and Amarka, they thought that Prahlad Maharaj was sufficiently educated in diplomatic affairs of pacifying public leaders, appeasing them by giving them lucrative posts, dividing and ruling over them, punishing them in cases of disobedience. So all these things that we have mentioned earlier, they're just they taught him, and then one day after Prahlad's mother had personally washed the boy and dressed him nicely with sufficient ornaments, they presented him again before his father. So they thought that, oh, now we've taught him everything, and we taught how to run the kingdom, how to be diplomatic, how to speak sweet words to pacify others, if they're not listening, then offer them lucrative posts, and how to rule them by dividing and ruling them, how to punish them if they don't obey. So these are the things that needs to be, they thought that he needs to learn, and they taught him that, and then they presented him again to Hiranyakashipu. And then when as soon as Prahlad Maharaj came to Hiranyakashipu, what he did was he fell at Hiranyakashipu's feet, and he offered his obeisances because he was his father. And Hiranyakashipu was very very happy. He saw that his boy is offering him obeisances, so he immediately showered his blessings and embraced him with both hands. And then we'll see what happens next tomorrow. So we'll pause here. Thank you, Sundaran Prabhu, and thank you all Vaishnavas for listening. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyo Pavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namo. Prabhuji, if you want to add anything, please feel free.
Oh, no. Thank you, Mataji. Nice class. Sorry for the mix-up of the verses today. Yeah, so I think the 4 things that Mataji was sharing from the purports of Prabhupada, they are also called as Sama, Dana, Veda, Danda. Those are 4 words used to describe those 4 things. That's Sama means telling with nice words. Dana means by giving posts or by giving some gifts like that. Veda means by dividing the other side like that, by creating 2 leaders in the other side like that. And then Danda means punishment like that. That's one thing I was thinking. And then the last verse Mataji read about the Prahlad Maharaj was so respectful, offering obeisances to his father. And we also can learn from that. We need to be respectful to everyone, irrespective of their disposition towards us, number 1. And number 2, by offering obeisances, we actually invoke the blessings of others on us. So it's a good opportunity for us to pay obeisances to like our superiors, like our parents and grandparents, or spiritual masters, like that. Yeah, senior devotees. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, that's all. Thank you, devotees. Hare Krishna.